The secret passage hides more secrets for us to uncover. Will this be the end of the BluePrince mysteries? Last time I left you with the letter and Cypher found in the vault. The letter is from Herbert, and he talks about this cipher that was left by his mother for his younger brother Simon. Simon could not solve it, and Herbert claims that he could not solve it as well. But I have a hard time believing that last part because of the way it is connected to how we found it in the first place. To get access to this vault box, we had to find the family core, which involves finding specific numbers by following specific rules. While this grid is made out of words, they don't seem to really make much sense together. But they are all 4 letters long, just like the number of elements required for a numeric core. And one of the very common things done in puzzles that involve letters and numbers is switching them based on their position in the alphabet. Following this idea, we can turn each word into 4 numbers, then use them to find the numeric core of each of the words, and then translate that back into a single letter. We get a message. Still water tints blank books. Interestingly, there's a clue that sometimes appears in the lost and found room, which says clue equals free, which also links to doing this puzzle. But I only connected the dots after solving the whole cipher. Well, I definitely know some blank books that have been just suspiciously hanging out in the library, because of course things like that are in the game for a reason. Now, we cannot pick up those books, so taking them to water is not an option. The watering can is an item in the game, but it also does not have any interactions with the books, since it has to be still water. Of course, first thought for still is that it's somehow unmoving water, but I did not find any interactions with things like fountains or bear baths to put that water in the watering can. Until I eventually remembered the mentions of still in a different content. The old gardener's moonshine operation was using a copper still, and we already found this hidden location in the trading post. There's water in one of the containers here, and if you stand just right, you can refill your watering can from here. This water can then be used to water the books in the library, and looks like they have secret messages from our great-grandmother. Tented rose vine. This is another anagram fitting the pattern we saw previously on some notes, saying things like the noted investor needed. My dearest darling son, I am quite impressed. I didn't expect you make it this far. Yet, if these words have reached your eyes, rest assured the end of the spiral is near. Stay vigilant and rose-wary, for the forms we discover are twice as sharp at the conclusion of each of our journeys. One final counsel I leave you. The waters of the West Spring shall yet reveal more secrets than those mere passages. I had so many plans, but not enough dreams. Your mother, Orave. Sounds like she left something for her grandfather to find, but he never did. It's once again connected to the image of a spiral. And sounds like there's more to do with the water. The second book seems to refer to some hidden path in the house. A hidden hue. From prism pristine, 3 paths convene, 3 lines of light, 3 shades foreseen, 3 colors to count, a sum of 18, but the one left hidden remains to be seen. There are plenty of books in the bookshop too, but none of them can be watered. There are also books in the secret passage, and the way that first book clue was phrased seemed to maybe point to it in some way, but I could not find any interactions in here just yet. I ended up trying to put the library outside to see if it will reveal anything more, since the clue also mentions waters of the West Spring, which is before we reach the outside room. But this did not show me anything new. I was also not able to refill the watering can from any new source. I even tried a puddle in the shrine. I've then also put the secret passage outside, and that makes a suspicious white book appear among the usual selection. However, I could not interact with it, and pulling any other book just results in a blocked passage. Now, I've been keeping my watering can in the code check since I watered those library books in order to check more things to water, but it did not seem to be working on the secret passage either. I wasn't quite sure if watering can would still have still water in it after being in the project, but it's not possible to have both the trading post and the secret passage outside, so I couldn't see how they would work otherwise. Turns out, the game was just bugged and I actually had to do the whole thing again, finding the watering can, filling it the still, then moving the secret passage outside. And this time I was able to water the suspicious white book and turn it blue. With this in place, the secret passage led me to another one of those blue sealed doors, which I have fortunately already permanently unsealed. Walking inside, I end up in the Atelier. It's full of blueprints and room plans. Things here do look like pieces for another puzzle. In the middle, there's a work table with a letter from grandmother, Lady Orave. When I first embarked upon this project, it was my intent to craft inviting rooms that might appeal to the citizens of the realm. I had even secured an arrangement with a local firm, which was to oversee the mass production of the floor plans. Yet now, after walking the halls of my work, I must confess I have grown altogether too attached to these rooms. They have become a part of me. And knowing how little regard is often shown for that which I hold sacred, I find myself unequal to the selfless task of sharing them with the world. I am content with this resolution, for this house and the 45 rooms therein are more than the best work of my career. They are home. Lady Orave, project completed November 1913. We know from the throne room that she was a grand architect, and it looks like this is where she designed the original plans for Mount Holly Estate. There are mentions of the prism and the color paths here like they were in the second library book. At the back of the room, there is a door with a partially filled house plan on it. When we open this door, we get this test draft message, and then another new area is revealed. Inside, it's very blue. We're in the BluePrince now. There are corridors, and there are those lanterns that appear in one of Azara's premonitions. And there are also rooms. They look like blueprint versions of the rooms from the house. But the art from the puzzles is different here, and there are also Mora J boxes inside. And inside each of the boxes, there are not allowance tokens, but cards with words. The place is a bit of a maze, and not all the paths reach all the way, so you have to find your way around. This space is the size of the actual house we've been in all this time, so it has all 45 rooms. And every single room has a pair of pictures and a puzzle box. I'm not going to make you watch me solve each of those, but I spent quite some time mapping out this whole place and gathering all the information within it. Also, it's interesting to note that this place also has the pair of paintings puzzle, like the one Herbert used to hide messages about safe codes. It further leads me to believe he actually did solve the cipher and found this place, just wanted us to be able to do the same. There are two separate messages we get from each one of the puzzles. The boxes give us: through lantern light and sketches, cast a tint of truth. To find our path, a hue of wisdom to turn, as right as shade of rain. To pass the light through lantern light and shadows past, we seek what's left of the lies we cast. As for the paintings, there's actually one pair I was not able to solve, and from the context, it can be one of two letters. These, vying or dying, plants forge Baron Cress a monk, Hewam, blessed. Both vying and dying kind of make sense. Vying as in plants that are being selected, or dying as she talked about not having enough dreams left. So this could be her final work. Feel free to let me know in the comments how that pair of pictures is solved. There's also a version of gallery in this house. It has no paintings, it has slots for the titles, but those cannot be interacted with. But the visible letters form the word moon. And moon has been a big symbol in our journey, and we saw pictures of Lady Orave with her moon pendant too. Now, the box message seems very much related to the lanterns and the clue we got from the second library book. There is something about colored paths here, marked by the lanterns in the corridors. If we look at the plans, it's possible to form 3 single-color paths from rank 1 all the way to the vestibule, which, as we know from Blue Notes, was the original antechamber. The colors for those paths are red, orange, and violet. When we do so, the path also only goes through rooms where the puzzle boxes had the matching realm colors used in the solution. When we walk each of those paths, the moon on the 4th vestibule door turns the matching color. But when the door is opened, the message inside says, this was not the correct path at all. Now, the vestibule puzzle box has 4 realm colors on it, adding black to the mix. However, there are no black lanterns here, and while black appears on boxes in other rooms, it's not enough to form a path across. Looking at the poem more closely, we can make out some other clues. Cast a tint of truth. Throughout the game, we've been taught that truth is linked to the color blue, because all of the blue notes are true. And at the end, it says, we seek what's left of the lies we cast. And we know lies are associated with the color red. Both of those colors are represented in the lanterns here. We also have Hue of Wisdom, and we know that Korarika is the academic realm with the orange sigil. And a Shade of Rain, which is violet because Erija is the realm with a lot of rain. We can also make out some directions. Turn us right, past the light, left of the lies. So the poem seems to give us directions. Cast a tint of truth to find our path. Start at blue as there's only one blue lantern. Hue of Wisdom to turn us right. Go right at orange lanterns. Shade of Rain to pass the light. Go straight through violet lanterns. And what's left of the lies we cast, go left at red lanterns. Now, this still took me a couple of tries to execute the plan, as I was not sure if we should only follow the lanterns or also go into rooms. Should we turn immediately or at the next junction? Starting at blue light, I was also going straight up to the next lantern, but doing those just ended up with me getting stuck. Eventually, I ended up with a version where from the blue lantern, I needed to enter the door there, then continue through the room, and then execute the instruction at each lantern as I reach it. Now, looking at this on paper, it still didn't seem to make as much sense as it took us to the back wall of the furnace. But I was executing the path in the game anyway, just to confirm I wasn't missing anything. And as I reached the final lantern, there was an unexpected door with the moon symbol again. Inside, the blueprint for room 46. Inside the room, we can find a blue will of Lady Oravale. In the will, she of course outlines her final wishes of how her belongings should be divided. To her husband, Baron Thomas Sinclair, she only leaves sentimental keepsakes, as she does not think he needs anything else from her. To her oldest son Herbert, she leaves basically nothing, as she basically assumes that he will get his inheritance from his father. But the estate of Mount Holly, and the floor plans for it, she does not leave to her husband or her children. For Simon, her younger son, she leaves her library, including the books, manuscripts, and musing, as she thinks he, much like her, finds greater delight in the realm of imagination than in the mundane realities of everyday life. She says, I hope he cherishes these books, for within the pages lie doorways to endless worlds of wonder and knowledge. Are we saying more secret puzzles, or are we just saying that's how books work? Her final order stands. I hereby bequeath the entirety of the aforementioned estate Mount Holly to the individual that discovers the hidden room that contains the blue pages of this document, and styled the Blue Testament of Oravale. It is my firm belief that the challenge of uncovering this secret far outweighs any other measures of worthiness, and thus I entrust my beloved home to that deserving successor, without regard to the years that may pass or their familial connection to my descendants, who may have instantly assumed possession of the estate in the interim. She even goes as far as say that while no one will be immediately kicked out, eventually the family will have to relocate in case this is found by someone unrelated to the family. And at the end she says, lastly, I leave a final message to my worthy successor, you, who have reached this final room. You who unearthed these pages hidden amidst the blueprints, buried beneath cryptic words and the prophecies of the past. You who have spent countless days wandering the chambers and passages of your own curiosity, scouring for clues, hoping for answers, striving for that which you knew might forever elude you. To you for whom satisfaction is a fleeting companion. To you who stands now at the end of your journey, triumphant, exhausted, and justly proud. To you I grant that which in life I gave to no other, my esteem. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 16th day of April 1952, Orave of Mount Holly. Well, this is an interesting piece of information, as it seems now we have really inherited Mount Holly by proving ourselves across the generations. It is also interesting to think our great-grandma didn't think that her family was worthy and was willing for anyone else to take over the estate as long as they could do her puzzles. The puzzle box in the room contains the word blue. In the poem it would replace truth, and we already know those two words are linked. And so, is this the true end of our journey? We still have the message from the paintings. I'm not quite sure how this connects to what we had to do here, but we know that the crest of Baroness Orave appears in the throne room after it is ascended. So is that what this refers to? I've made some more attempts here at different paths to see if anything else happened, but the vestibule always ends up with an incorrect path. I also found no more things in the room 46 blueprint. But by examining the potential paths and rooms more, I noticed that the rooms we used for the path to room 46 have some interesting properties. The letters from the paintings inside spell out the word Swan Song, and the words from the boxes are, "We seek what's in the shade of truth." This is the phrase seen in the shelter on the wall. It is interesting that there's a blue tent note saying there's a major key in the safe house, which I originally interpreted as pointing to the railway map, but now it seems it may have been pointing to this path this entire time. Swan Song has also appeared multiple times across the game and has meaning as a final performance or accomplishment. As if the previous generations of our family are just leaving a series of puzzles and mysteries behind as their final act. One thing I'm still curious about is what appears when we open the door in this Mount Holly blueprint area. Testing draft, and then the rank is Raft Draft. Would drafting the rooms as outlined on the door plan make something about this place change? I tried to do this a bunch, but was never successful. Would need a very good run with a lot of dice to even test this hypothesis, so it may take a long time. But if anyone else has already done it and you know if it leads to anything or nothing, you can let me know, so I can save myself some time. But if it does do something, don't tell me exactly what it is. The rooms marked here also have letters that would make the word rosemary, which is what was used in that first library book hint. So it is connected to this place, but the meaning of it is unclear. It also doesn't appear to be an anagram for anything. This place definitely left me with a big feeling that there must be more here. It's a whole secret house, and it takes a long time to map it out and figure out that one correct solution. This game has been all about layers, but I'm just not seeing the next thing to follow here. The whole blueprint plan cannot be copied into Mount Holly, as it has impossible rooms that only work with the extra passages everywhere. Plus, it would just be impossible to do with all the draft RNG. As I mentioned, even trying to copy the 8 specific rooms on the doors has turned out to be a huge endeavor. The spiral of stars, which seemed like it would link to all the other spiral-related clues scattered in the game, turned out to just be a mechanic for slow research build-up. Each day you observe it, a word is added. Some words do nothing, and then you start gaining resources from the others. I think it will also take some time to actually complete the whole thing, because boosting your stars does not advance it any further. It's just one word every day. But so far, it just doesn't appear to spell out any secrets. I guess what I'm questioning here is that while the game seems to offer us a reward, there was no cutscene like we've seen before at any other important steps, and the way previous cutscenes are listed in security footage does seem to be missing an entry. But now I'm wondering if maybe I have done things in a slightly wrong order. If we rewind a bit, when we started to unlock the tunnel, the first thing we find is the key to the file cabinet in the mines that tells us how to solve numeric cores. Which means with this information and what the blue notes tell us about family cores, it's possible to pursue and reach the Atelier and Mount Holly blueprints at this point in the game. It still requires us to ascend the throne room to unseal the door, but it's not gated by anything further in the tunnel. The rest of the tunnel then feels like even more of a final progression check, where we have to unlock every single door we unlocked before. And then we get to the BluePrince book summing up our journey. Of course, both the book and the cutscene in that room point us to the spiral again. But is the spiral a real path to follow? Or is it a path of madness? The box with the spiral does say there is no end to this journey. But since it's impossible for this game to have infinite layers and infinite puzzles, the no end may also mean there is no other end to reach. So what remains is just driving ourselves mad trying to read into things that mean nothing? Maybe, or maybe not. I am not yet convinced there is nothing else to find in this game, as I have few more things I find suspicious. The bust of our mother is missing from room 46. Feels like something we will fill as part of uncovering her story. There is this weird glitch on the room 46 floor. Normally you get this in games when objects are overlapping, but why would the floor not just be one object with no issues? Is it as if something here should open or move or come up? But I found no secret mechanism, nor does waiting in the room trigger anything. And well, we didn't even really reach any conclusion of the story either. What has happened to our mother? Why were we not able to reunite with her? She wanted Herbert to show us something, the messages she left, what she was doing and why, but not for us to follow and find her? We have activated the Blue Realm as our ancestors planned and hoped for. Once that has happened, I actually stopped thinking we would be able to go to the underground castle. I think reading more into it seems like they only unearthed the castle to take the Black Prince and objects needed for the new kingdom. But the intention was never to use the castle itself. But even knowing that, it's still a bit disappointing, because that castle looked very exciting. It is also not fully clear to me what this new Blue Realm will achieve. It is supposed to stand as a new place brought from the ashes of Orinda Ares, but it's just a small estate in this large hostile kingdom. We don't have an army or anything else. Other than the now missing members of our mother's group, we don't even seem to have many supporters. So how is this place going to stand against Ares? Are there magical properties to what we've gathered here and they're supposed to help us somehow? Or does this happen later? Somehow after this game, you take on the journey predicted by Alzara to gather even more things needed to achieve this goal truly? Or is it not really about this at all? Is this just about us and the family remembering who we really are and remembering the history without it being buried fully by Ares? There also seems to be no way to say that we are done and to let the staff back onto our estate and to let Simon continue the rest of his life as the true heir of Mount Holly. The staff just keeps adding more and more messages to staff announcement, sending us little spoilers for the early game puzzles, and wondering how much longer is this all going to take. So I'm for sure missing some closure here. But finding any form more so far eludes me. Maybe there is more to find by spending time with Alzara's prophecies and analyzing every word, image, and phrase. There are also several blue notes that I still consider suspicious, but only because it's unclear to me why we would be given this information, not because it leads me to anything more right now. Why do we need to know when Clara Epstein was buried? Or how many years older Herbert was than his brother Simon? Months are slightly longer than days, says the note hidden in the drawing room. Apparently the dogs have names. Carter, Faultless, Hot Sauce, and Drawbridge. And the car's license plate, Swinzung, is apparently an acronym. No idea for what. So as it stands, I don't think I can promise any more regular updates on the puzzles of BluePrince. I will still check out some of the other content and try to achieve some of the additional trophies. And if there are any updates to the game or I make any new findings, I will of course bring them to you as soon as I can. But so far, the path forward was always fairly clear to me, and now the whole thing just suddenly stopped. But if we go back to that blueprint door and we use the letters from it a certain way, there might be another message here. We are sorry? I think it's just me seeing things. Well, either way, I enjoyed most of my time I spent in BluePrince. Sure, there were some frustrating moments, and sometimes the RNG got me, but I think this was still a great game. And even if there's nothing more to find, I appreciated the experience. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the game. Do you think there's more to find? Or do you actually know there is more to find? And I will see you soon on another adventure.